Drinking with authors may contain adult content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Drinking with Authors. I am the host, author Nick Savage, and this episode, as every episode, is brought to you by Four Horsemen Publications, so give them a shout-out over at their website, fourhorsemenpublications.com. Check out some amazing authors there, but I want to welcome an author who's not with Four Horsemen. She is an author from New York City, where she was born and bred, according to her bio. I want to welcome author Maureen Morrissey.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the
Hi,
show.
Nick. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, my pleasure. I always love doing these podcasts and stuff. So you have a book that is, the title of the book is actually one of my favorite words, and no one knows what it means. So I'm going to let you take it away. But tell us about Sonder, Janie's story.
Can I show the cover? Okay.
Oh.
So I have to say that I was in the middle of marketing my first novel and not thinking I would ever write a second. I couldn't believe I actually had written a first. I'd written short stories. I had written lots of publications for educators, which I was up until 2020. And then I was on a website and someone shared a word of the day, and that word was Sonder. And it gobsmacked me between the eyes, and that was the day Janie was born. This is Sonder, Janie's story. Sonder means the realization that every person you pass that you don't even notice, the definition, which is in the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, which is a great book, was actually on the New York Times bestsellers list. He says every lighted window, every car you drive past, that person that you don't even really pay attention to has an entire life story as crazy and rich as your own, but that you'll never know it because you're busy in your own circle, in your own life, and they'll never know yours. He mentions that you might be an extra in their movie and they would be an extra in your movie, and then you just move on with your life. So because the concept was something very near and dear to my heart as a New York City person who is surrounded by millions of extras, and who is a writer and a reader who loves story, I knew right away that I wanted to write something to honor that concept. So Janie was born. So Janie tells the story of a girl who grew up in New York City around the same time I did. And she follows a lot of very dark rabbit holes, as girls did back in those days, and some of the boys too. It was a bit of a dangerous time to be a working class kid in the city in general. And she learns to pay attention to all those extras in her life. And through that, she develops and grows and starts to find her way out of those dark rabbit holes that she was in. So the concept really is a realization, an eye-opening, and it opens your whole world. And if you take it one step further, as I like to do, and engage those random strangers and really listen to their stories, because again, as writers, I love stories. I love walking down the street and listening and eavesdropping on bits of conversations. Those have made their ways into my books. But if you really engage strangers and listen to their stories, it makes your life richer. And that's why I had to write Sonder, Janie's story.
No, that's a wonderful, wonderful beginning and, background to the story and everything. I think you touched on something, though, that is very important to the writer's mind, and that is kind of watching people, or people watching, as people like to say. You have to. It has to be something that becomes part of you without being creepy about it. No one wants to be stared at incessantly. But you have to pick up those little bits of conversation and the interactions and, everything to kind of bring your stories to life by recognizing the beings of others and stuff. So that's a wonderful thing to mention. But you got your start before this story with another book called Woven, which was your debut novel. And how did that one come to be?
So that was a story that had been in me my whole life. It is a fictionalized a historical fictionalized version of my family history and my husband's family history. And I grew up with the stories of my own family, and I knew they needed to be shared. I'm the child of Holocaust survivors and refugees. My husband is the descendant of Irish Great Famine refugees, for lack of a better word, that wound up in the States. And all of our ancestors eventually wound up in the States and created a generation of American kids who met each other and then created new generations of American kids. So I wrote that book in like 4 months. It just came spilling out of me. I was at the computer 6 to 8 hours a day doing research to make sure that it was historically accurate, because I didn't have enough information on my own family history or my husband's to write it as memoir. And I didn't need relatives coming after me later to tell me that some things were inaccurate. So I made it fiction. So I did a lot of research. It was an intense project. I guess in certain ways, fortunately, I retired in June of 2020 in the beginning of the pandemic, and we couldn't go anywhere. We really couldn't leave the house. And so this was my pandemic project, and I got the first draft done in 4 months. And then it took me probably another 6 months to actually get it published. I publish independently.
Nothing wrong with publishing independently nowadays. You were a school teacher, if I recall, and
Yes,
you did that, and this story had sat with you your whole life because it was your kind of it's a fictionalized version of your life stuff. But it wasn't until you retired that allowed you the time to kind of put it all together.
So I never thought I could write a novel. I've been writing since I was 7 years old. I actually had a little publishing center in my bedroom. And I was lucky to have a bedroom because we grew up in a 1-bathroom, 2-bedroom apartment. There were 5 of us, and I lived in the pantry. I was the only one with a private space. So I took full advantage, and I had a little publishing center. And I started writing ghost stories, because some of the stories of my family's experiences were very frightening. And I guess I learned how to embrace that. So I started writing ghost stories and illustrating on this flimsy old manila paper. That was the thing back in the 60s. And I had a stapler and crayons and pencils. So I would make books. And it's on my website, but my very first rejection came from my mother when I tried to sell her one of my self-published books for a nickel, and she wouldn't do it. So I learned to deal with rejection as a writer very early on, and it didn't stop me. In fact, I'm the kind of person who, if you say no to me, I'll say, step aside and watch. I'm going to do this. So I did a lot of writing through my childhood, through college, through education, but it was mostly short stories and articles for teachers. And I really did not know I could write a novel. And then once we had this absolute silence in our lives, and my husband and I are very big travelers, and I'm a runner. I was able to run, thank goodness, because that saved my sanity. But we couldn't travel to visit our children and our grandchildren. And so that really did kind of give me the space and mindset, and it just kind of spilled out of me. I sat there every day in awe, like somebody else's hands on the keyboard. The story just happened. It just built.
Now, you in writing books is never something you get done quickly, and you're onto your third. Well, you've written 3 novels so far, and you're onto your 4th, which is something you never thought you'd get past 1. But you have somehow made yourself into someone who, after being an avid reader, which as authors we appreciate, photographer, traveler, blogger, and a half marathon runner, you still have spare time to where you volunteer at animal shelters. And I like the way you say investigate the quality of rooftop bars in New York City.
I mean, your podcast is called Drinking with Authors. Yeah. I'm not drinking right now because I'm going to an event where there will be drinking and I have to drive. But we have a pub in our basement. I'm in our basement. So we do enjoy it.
Now, I'm actually looking for anyone who's on the listening only, the audio only channel. She has a nice, beautiful, kind of fully stocked bar right behind her. But behind you to your right, I believe, if it's not mirrored, you have 3 bottles still in boxes that look like they're either Glenfiddich or something like that.
They are.
And that is wonderful. I love a good Scotch, a good Irish whiskey, anything like such. And you even have,
Me too.
I think I even see like a dark, what is it? A dark Patron on your other side.
Yeah, so that's a coffee Patron. That's for little desserty shots. I'm actually, depending on the season, I'm a tequila girl, and I do have handy. I thought about drinking some of it, but this is the best tequila ever invented. It's a sipping reposado. It's called Clase Azul, and you can enjoy this all night long and not wake up with a headache. So if you were a tequila drinker in college, this is not that.
No. I was not a tequila drinker in college, and I actually have, for reasons you already know, when I was in college, like Patron was top shelf and everything else was like Jose Cuervo.
Yeah.
And both of those are kind of like no now. I'll do like Don Julio as my low end, but I just discovered that like I had an old bottle of Herradura Reposado that I discovered I really liked. So I was like, there are some Reposados out there that are nice little smoky kind of flavors to them and stuff. So
this one is actually cured in casks of cognac, which is one of my other, and it's like drinking liquid gold. I'm going to sound like such an alcoholic, which I'm really not. I only drink a little bit on weekends. You know, being retired, coming down here to watch TV, this is always here, and I don't indulge. But this is like it's caramelized. It's not smoky. It's actually just sweet and smooth and lovely, and you have to try it. But in the winter, I'm a bourbon girl. I love a Manhattan in the winter and red wine. In the summer, I'm rosé, tequila, gin. So
a good Manhattan, a good old fashioned are wonderful drinks. But you're retired, so isn't every day just the weekend for you?
So that is a danger. If you're anyone thinking about retiring that enjoys tippling, drinking, be aware, because we do have friends that drink every day. That's not us. We are very active seniors. My husband sold his amazing company after 40 years. It was a high-end luxury home builder in just north of New York City. He was the brand, like everybody knew him. He was quite famous. And now, you know, he was a little bit lost right after he retired and didn't know what his next step was. So one day he took a chainsaw out to the yard and just started making wood carving art out of fallen trees. And now he's going to shows and selling art. He's painting. He's, yeah, so we both retired and discovered an entirely new life. And it's just not conducive to drinking every day. I Ernest Hemingway notwithstanding, I'm not Ernest Hemingway, so.
No, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong. I think when people are in college and social situations, even if you're a social person, the alcohol kind of brings everybody together because they don't know how else to bring people together or to meet people. And as we get older, we're like, alcohol's there, but there's so many other things that we find we can do with their time in our life that alcohol becomes an afterthought to, oh yeah, we're going to a thing, there'll be some drinking and might have a glass of wine, or you know what I'm saying, whatever, versus the need to do it every day.
Exactly.
But you are born and bred New York City, and I am a Chicago boy.
Love Chicago.
Live in Florida now. Where in New York City, which of the boroughs are you in?
Oh, so our apartment was in Queens, and I went to elementary school in Queens, but the high school that I went to 2 different high schools. The first one was 7th through 12th grade. I was a commuter kid subway rat from the age of 12. And I would get on the subway in the morning, and it was just subway cars full of kids like me traveling the city to get to school. I would see my cousins who were younger than me heading to school on the subway, and that was in Manhattan. That was actually a block from Grand Central at the time. They've moved since. And then I switched to another high school on the Lower East Side, near Greenwich Village. So I started near Central Parkish and ended up near Greenwich Village in the 70s. Interesting times.
See, I love New York City, and I've only been there once, and it was for like a week. And I spent a decent chunk of that on like Long Island doing some business stuff. And then we went, and I was in Brooklyn and Queens and Manhattan for like a quick like day and a half jaunt. It's unreal. Like New York City, like growing up in Chicago, like, oh, Chicago, big city, New York City can't be that much bigger, and blah, blah, blah. It is indescribably bigger than Chicago. Like, I moved from Chicago to Orlando, and I'm like, oh, Orlando's so tiny. That is how New Yorkers must feel coming from New York to Chicago. It's like, oh, Chicago's so tiny. Because New York City proper has like 14 million people in just New York City proper. Like,
I love Chicago. We go to Chicago often, which makes me, a little annoyed that you only came once for a week. We go to Chicago a lot. Redheaded Piano Bar. That's one of our go-to.
Ooh, you got good Chicago taste there. Yes.
We are live music fanatics. So yes, we go to Chicago a lot. We love it. Yeah, it's a lot smaller than New York, but we just love it. I mean, I love cities. I love San Francisco. I love Boston. I love Miami. I love Amsterdam, Paris, London. Like, I don't know, I'm a city girl. So we love Chicago, but New York is so special. And people who come here, especially those who are warned, don't go, it's dangerous. You're going to get robbed and mugged, and people are mean. And it's like, not that way at all. If you need help, nobody is going to help you faster than a New Yorker. If you're, I was going to the city. I now live a little bit north. I'm in Westchester now. We bought a nice house in the country, but I'm 45 minutes from Midtown. And a woman was trying to get a stroller up the stairs in the train station. And the first thing I thought of is, let me grab the other end. Like, that's just it. We're all fighting each other to help, because we all know, like, we're all in the war together. So if I can help you, it makes me feel good and brightens my day a bit. New York has I love New York City.
No, and you're 100% correct, because I was the asshole in New York City because I didn't know you can't make a right on red. That's just the law.
Oh shit.
And anywhere else, like I've lived, you can make a right on red unless it says no. So I'm like downtown Manhattan or Times Square, somewhere right around there, and I'm making a right on red in between these groups of people crossing. And the guy's like, you don't make a right on red in New York City. And I didn't know that was a law. So my asshole is screaming out the window, we doing on Chicago. And I'm so lucky I didn't get pulled over. But like, people in New York are so nice, because it was just, I needed help with the car, and the parking attendant of the garage helps me, which would never happen in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And like, New Yorkers, it's the accent. It's very rough. So people are like, oh, it's a rough accent, they must be mean. And absolutely the nicest people on the planet.
And the best food too, like any country in the world that you can think of, there's a restaurant in New York, and it's probably somebody's grandmother or grandfather in the kitchen, and you're never going to get better food. It just it is.
Oh no, it's 100% true.
I don't know. I do, because we walk a lot, but we should weigh 1,000 pounds, because there's just food everywhere and it's all good.
There's actually studies about that. European countries where they do a lot more walking and less driving, they eat, it's not even better quality food. They eat what we eat, just, they make it their version, but it's still got the caloric intake and everything like that. But because they're walking more and they're not as sedentary, they're healthier. So the cities like New York, where you can walk more and stuff like that, you're healthier because of the extra steps a day you're putting on because of the walking and the commuting like that. So it's definitely a good thing to have that good of food and be forced to walk.
And
So
I think it helps because I'm a runner too, and I'm a workout fanatic. I think it also helps with your metabolism. Or like, let's say you have a lazy day at home in New York. It doesn't make a difference. You can still eat because tomorrow you're going to walk 10,000 steps or climb 47 flights of stairs or whatever it is. It's your metabolism, your energy. Yeah. And I think I have the energy level I do because I grew up there in those crazy times. Most of my girlfriends are also immigrants. I'm first generation American, and almost all of my girlfriends are first generation or at the most second. And a lot of our parents were just working all the time. So we were kind of free range kids before that was a thing. So yeah, we were out all hours and doing all kinds of explorations in all the boroughs. And yeah, I think that's why I still feel that way. I mean, I'm old now, but I can still outdo a lot of people younger than me in a lot of different ways.
It's the healthy mentality. What did Frank Sinatra say? Young at heart, and that's really you're as old as you think you are, and you're not. If you got that youthful mentality, you're going to be healthy for a long time, which is absolutely
I hope
wonderful.
So. That's the goal. I want to write some more.
Yeah, well, I have a question before we get back to the books. As a native New Yorker who loves Chicago, and they're different monsters. So you don't have to like one over the other. But do you like Chicago style pizza, either thin crust or deep dish? No, neither.
So I'm recently, I've been grappling my whole life with the pizza problem. It's a problem because everywhere I go, my husband goes, my kids go, we compare pizza to New York pizza, and nothing comes
It's
up.
not the same.
So I had to, and this is recent. I'm 64. This is very recent that I realized there's good pizza everywhere. I have to stop comparing it and just accept that it's going to be different. So it helps me better. I'm still not a big fan of deep dish. To me, it's just a lot of bread and cheese. It's too rich. It's too heavy to me.
No. And
like a slice, I get a slice, I eat a slice, I'm good to go. I just feel like it's too heavy for me. But then again, I guess being super into athleticism and being healthy, you don't want to eat too many of those deep dish pizzas.
It also depends on the deep dish joint too, because deep dish outside Chicago tends to be more dough than not. And even within Chicago, like Lou Malnati's deep dish, different from Gino's East, different from Giordano's type stuff, and Sir Nick's
and Uno and all those that are downtown.
Yeah, but if you ever go back to next time you're back in Chicago, look for a place called Rosati's and get their thin crust.
Okay.
Now, thin crust are the small little squares. They're not big New York pie slices and stuff. But to me, New York and Chicago pizza is like, it's not apples to oranges. It's like Granny Smith's to Red Delicious. You know what I'm saying? Golden Delicious. Yeah. It's all apples, just very different kind of varieties. Because I was at 3 different pie shops when I was in New York. Got 3 different slices. I don't know how the hell I ate all 3. And loved them. Like we went one shop to the next. And absolutely
you
wonderful.
Can't go wrong. I went to an event on Saturday in Long Island, Northport. And we stopped for gas in Queens near my mother's apartment. And we went to my very favorite, my homegrown pizza place. And I had a friend with me who wasn't from New York. And she's like, why is this so good? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Any pizzeria that you walk into in any of the 5 boroughs, it's going to be amazing. I don't know.
No, 100%. And a good pizza in New York is good. I did have one pizza in New York that wasn't great, but it was like a chain. It was like a New York, it was like your version of like Domino's. So I was like, whatever. But the indie pie shops were absolutely phenomenal. But
Yeah.
I do have to say, if you ever find yourself in St. Louis, do not get St. Louis style pizza. I know I'm going to piss off any listeners in St. Louis. Not good. Not good.
Yeah, we were in St. Louis. We do a lot of road trips. We were in St. Louis. We stayed at the Drury down by the Arch. This was last October. We had a wonderful, it was just an overnight on our way out to visit our kids in Colorado. And we had a wonderful time. I don't even remember what we ate, but I love St. Louis. So there you go. But I won't eat the pizza, I promise.
No. Don't even, no. St. Louis is absolutely wonderful. I've actually been to the Drury numerous times. Never stayed there. Stayed in another hotel down the road, but been in the Drury many times for conventions and stuff. Absolutely beautiful hotel, wonderful
Beautiful,
area.
like stunningly beautiful historic building with free happy hour, 3 free drinks. So just so you know.
But you're not an alcoholic. You just know where you can get the free
I
alcohol.
do see that's the difference. I know, but I don't overdo it. What can I say?
So we've talked about your first 2 books. We've talked about Woven. We've talked about Sonder. You have a 3rd book.
I have a 3rd book. So I call Woven, which was my first book, I call this book my therapy book because it got a lot of like childhood trauma out. Well, and then I call Sonder my exorcism. Both of these books should have all the trigger warnings. Literally, I don't do trigger warnings, but if your readers are out there, all of them are in these books. So once I got these out of my system, I started writing just for funsies, and I came up with Seeing is Believing. It is about a psychic who does not want to be a psychic, and she struggles with trying to find some balance. All she wants in life is to get married and have children and be a normal Midwestern girl with, mother and wife. But because she has these psychic powers, which she tries to squelch, and that, if you try to squelch any innate abilities, never goes well. So I don't even know if I believe in psychics, but I did research for this one too. And it doesn't go well for her. Things go completely sideways for most of her early life. But I think the theme running through all of my books and my new one as well is strong women characters, because I am a very strong, stubborn, risk-taking, adventure-seeking person. And so I think the theme running through all of my novels is just women who deal with things in life and figure things out. So that's no different. This is a lot of fun. This is more commercially popular than the other 2. It's more of a traditional story arc book, where the other 2 are more literary fiction. They don't stick to a story arc. You have to really be kind of ready to take a journey with those first 2. This one, I think, might be more commercially viable. But yes, that's my 3rd one. And then I'm working on my 4th. It's almost there. I'm in beta reading right now. And it's called, I have a proof to show you. It's called Dream Life. And it's about a middle-aged woman in New York City. They're not all in New York City. This one's in Oklahoma. But she has this dream that seems very, very real, unlike most dreams. But it strikes her that it's actually like some kind of past life memory, but she is very pragmatic and doesn't believe in that. But again, that takes her down some pretty big trips, what happens to her. So so this is my next one. I keep hoping it's going to be done soon, but I'm not going to rush it. So I really like this one.
And do you have anything planned after that? Or are you just kind of taking it one at a time and seeing?
Yeah,
where
none of
things go?
none of these were planned. They're like unplanned pregnancies in a way. So they're all unplanned pregnancies, but they turn out beautifully like children do.
It's
And
a very
actually,
interesting comparison.
I know that's what it is. What can I say? A friend of mine that I grew up with, that I went to my first high school, came to visit from the city, and she brought her dog. who is a rescue, and we have a rescue dog, and her dog had so much fun because we have 5 acres. He was playing and free to run instead of always being on a leash. And so out of that grew my one and only children's book, Country Dog, City Dog, which is all of the profits for this go to the rescue organization that we got our dog from. 100% of the proceeds do. So this is very near and dear to my heart too, but I never intended at this point to publish a children's book, but my grandkids love it, and I read it to their classes and they love it. So it's a big hit.
Nice. And I'm assuming it is about a city dog and a country dog.
Yes, ours being the country dog, and her dog is named Romeo. Romeo comes up to the country. And in the story, again, it's fiction. So Romeo comes up to the country and he freaks out because he's used to the city, but he learns to love it. I mean, initially he's terrified. And then Harley winds up going down to the city. And you can imagine a country dog in the city is also initially terrified, but he learns to love it. So it's kind of like Country Mouse, City Mouse in a way. I call it a modern fable.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with modernizing the classics. And can you tell us the shelter that gets the proceeds? Or
Yes. Briarcliff SPCA up in Westchester is where we got our dog. And that's where all the proceeds go to. And every year when they have their big fundraising event, I set up a table and sell these books. And, there's a big sign saying all proceeds go to the SPCA. And I sell a lot of them. I don't make a dime, but it makes me happy anyway.
no, and you do work with the shelters, some volunteer work with I'm assuming the animals and stuff.
Yes, that's the best part of the job. Playing with them, taking them from walks, cuddling with the puppies. We've been traveling a lot, so lately I haven't been doing it, but I do miss it.
You'll get back there. Traveling's important. You have to take time for yourself too. Yeah.
Well, and I tell you, I get some great characters from our travels. We do a lot of road trips, and we usually stay in the hotels, and the breakfast buffet in the morning at some of these hotels. Just the characters that I have gotten from people that I sit there and try not to be too creepy, as you said, but I'm with a little notebook kind of writing things down that I hear or see so I won't forget. And it's just a wealth of ideas.
I think in any book you read, especially with like the side characters, you have to go, did the author see this person, and like kind of make them fictionalized, or is it someone that they created? Because it happens to all of us. We see something plants a seed in our mind, and then they end up making it into a book.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So where's your next big travel adventure heading off to?
So we just got back from a road trip in France with our oldest friend, who I've known since I'm 12 years old. She moved to France, and we did a circle around the borders of the country. We left out of Paris, went west towards the Alps, and then drove down on the border of the Alps with Switzerland to the coast, the Mediterranean coast. And then we headed along to the Pyrenees, and we went north along the Pyrenees and stopped in the Loire Valley, and a lot of wine to enjoy. And then we went up into Giverny, which is in the Normandy region, about 3 hours from the Belgian coast. And then we dropped back down into Paris and then came home. So it was 2 weeks, and it was such an adventure. It was so fabulous. There's nothing like road tripping. You just get to see more, meet more people. You get lost. GPS helps, but not if you're in the French countryside. There's no signals, so you know where you're going and kind of where you have to be, but then you drop the signal and you're just wandering the French countryside until it gets picked up again. So
no, that sounds wonderful. Now, for people in the US who haven't had a chance to explore much of the world. 2 weeks is not enough time to circle the entire United States. So it is more than enough time to at least sample France in its circumference.
Actually, yes, because it's a smaller country, we were able to find home bases along the way and stay in the area for 3 to 4 nights and then do day trips from there. We saw a lot, but you're right. So my husband and I drive across the country at least once a year in the United States. We have children out in Colorado. And we take a different route every time. We're at 47 states at this point. We have to hit 3 more. And yes, no, we usually take a month or so, 5 or 6 weeks to do that.
That's a much longer time. Now I've never been to France myself. I've been to Canada and Mexico, and that's, you know what I'm saying about it. Me and my wife are looking to get out a little more as time allows. But you know what? Is there, before I forget to ask anything, is there anything that you wanted to talk about or anything I forgot to ask that you wanted me to that I perhaps did not?
No, I feel like we covered all the bases, like my background and my journey into writing and where I'm going, which the answer is I don't know. So that covers
that is
everything.
okay.
And,
sometimes not knowing is, the fun part.
Oh, it's always the
Other
fun
times,
part for me.
yeah. Other times
But
not knowing can get people into trouble, but
but that's part of the fun. See, that's the New Yorker in me. It's like life is not worth living if you don't get into some trouble. My husband has a saying when we say goodbye to our friends: be good or be good at it.
Exactly.
So, but the other part of my journey is the running. You mentioned the half marathon. I actually have done 2. Yeah. I don't know if I'll do any more. I never intended to do even one. This seems to be a theme with me. I don't really plan or intend to do things, and then they happen, and it makes a great story. So I did the half marathon in New Hampshire on the seacoast, and I did a half marathon in Westchester County that was so mountainous and hilly and crazy. But I really love running. I love running. It's my therapy. I compose while I run. I solve story plot issues, come up with dialogue. I go in the zone. I don't listen to music or anything. I get into a zone and I just do a lot of my composing as I'm running. I'm very fortunate that way.
No, that is wonderful. So where can people find you? Where can the listeners who want to get your books find you, follow you on social media and all that jazz?
So I do have a Facebook page for those that are still on Facebook. I have an Instagram page and I'm on Threads as well. I have a website, maureenmorrissey.com. Most of my books can be ordered at any bookstore through Ingram Spark, but I'm also available on Amazon. And Sonder, my husband was so proud of me for doing what I'm doing that he, as a congratulations gift, got me a narrator. So there's actually an Audible version of Sonder as well. So if you're into audio books, it's on Audible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing so much about your full and rich life and experiences. Just so much to talk about and be proud of and stuff. And for everyone listening, go support her, follow her on Instagram and Threads, visit her website, pick up her books, pick up Sonder audio book version too, because Sonder's just such a cool word. And no, thank you so much. And I look forward to, having you back if you end up, getting a 5th book out, or even when the 4th one comes out and stuff. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick, and all your listeners and watchers. We authors rely on support. It's an art, it's a craft. We're out here, putting ourselves out there, and any feedback, any support is always welcome, like any artist will tell you. So thank you, Nick, for doing this. I mean, this is really huge. This, being on podcasts with people who are supportive and who have an audience is very huge for writers and authors. So I appreciate you doing this and all of your audience members participating. So
No,
thank you.
no, I appreciate having you on, and it's fun. Like, this is, it's part of my job to do this, and it's just so much fun to be able to say that this is what I do. So thank you. But yeah, for everyone listening, like her, follow her, like the show if you haven't yet, follow the show if you haven't yet, and get us some sponsors, because more sponsors means we can do more of these. But until next time, remember, it costs nothing to be kind. And to quote Maureen Morrissey and her friends, be good or be good at it. Until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Drinking with Authors. Join us next time for another fun conversation with an author over drinks.